Hello there. It's wonderful to be spending this time with you today. Have you ever found yourself thinking, could lightning strike twice? Could you find that deep companionship, that spark of love, again after 60? Perhaps you've met someone special, someone who makes your heart feel, well, younger again. It's a beautiful, hopeful feeling, isn't it? Like finding a hidden garden bursting with unexpected blooms after a long winter. But just like any garden, a new relationship, especially later in life, needs careful tending and, importantly, a clear-eyed view of the landscape before you start planting seeds. Our hearts might feel young, but life has given us, let's call it rich soil, layers of experience, responsibilities, maybe some old roots from past relationships or losses. Sometimes, these things, if we don't acknowledge them, can trip us up unexpectedly, like hidden stones in that lovely garden path. Things like unspoken expectations about money or how your grown children might really feel can suddenly cast a shadow. Today, I want to talk, heart to heart, about 4 essential truths. Think of them as gentle signposts to consider before saying I do again after 60. And I'll be honest, the third truth we discuss, it's a significant one, something that really warrants deep thought and could genuinely shift your perspective. My promise to you is that by the end of our chat, you'll feel more equipped, more confident, and clearer about navigating this exciting, yet complex, new chapter. These aren't complicated rules, just honest reflections based on real experiences. So grab a comfy seat, perhaps a cup of tea, and let's explore this together. It's worth staying for, I assure you. Truth number 1, the unspoken elephant. Let's talk about money. All right, let's start with something many find awkward, but oh so crucial. Finances. It's not very romantic, is it? Talking about pounds and pence, dollars and cents, assets and pensions when you're falling in love. It can feel almost distasteful, like discussing plumbing during a candlelit dinner. But here's the reality. Ignoring finances when remarrying later in life is like building a beautiful house on shaky ground. Eventually, the tremors will come. You've likely spent decades building your financial security, perhaps meticulously planning for retirement, maybe setting aside something for your children or grandchildren. Your potential partner has done the same, but their path, their habits, their assets, and even their debts might look very different from yours. Simply hoping it will all work out is a recipe for future stress and misunderstanding. I remember talking to Arthur, a lovely gentleman of 72. He'd been a widower for 5 years and met Helen, a vibrant woman of 68, at a local bridge club. Arthur was financially comfortable, having planned carefully with his late wife. Helen had less, having worked part-time while raising her children after a divorce years ago. Arthur told me, I felt so cheap even thinking about money. Helen is wonderful, kind, makes me laugh like I haven't laughed in years. Bringing up prenups or pension details felt like I didn't trust her, like I was valuing my bank account more than her. He confessed he'd lie awake sometimes, not worrying about losing money, but worrying about the discomfort of the conversation, the potential awkwardness, the fear of spoiling the magic they had found. He kept putting it off, telling himself it wasn't the right time. That little knot of anxiety just sat there, tightening bit by bit. But eventually, prompted by his daughter who gently reminded him of practicalities, Arthur took a deep breath and approached Helen. Not with spreadsheets and demands, but with honesty. He said something like, Helen, my dear, our future together feels so bright, and because I care about us, I think we need to chat openly about the practical side, about finances, so there are no surprises or worries down the line for either of us. To his immense relief, Helen felt the same. She had her own anxieties about not being a financial burden and wanting clarity about how they'd manage things together. They decided to see a financial advisor together, someone neutral who helped them lay everything out, discuss expectations, and even explore options like a prenuptial agreement, not as a sign of distrust, but as a tool for clarity and protecting both their families' interests. Arthur described the feeling afterwards as a huge weight lifting. Suddenly, that shaky ground felt solid. They knew where they stood. The conversation didn't dampen the romance. It strengthened their partnership because it was built on honesty and mutual respect. So, the practical benefit for you? Peace of mind, preventing future conflicts that can poison even the strongest affection, building a foundation of trust that goes beyond whispered sweet nothings. It's about ensuring your later years are about companionship and joy, not arguments over bills or inheritance anxieties. My gentle encouragement: don't let unspoken financial worries become the elephant in your beautiful new room. Address it kindly, openly, and early on. It's a sign of maturity and care, not distrust. Truth number 2, the extended cast. It's not just about the two of you. When we were young and got married, blending families often meant dealing with perhaps interfering in-laws or navigating sibling rivalries. When you remarry after 60, the family you're blending often includes adult children, sometimes grandchildren, and the enduring memories and loyalties tied to previous spouses. It's a different dynamic altogether. Your children aren't toddlers needing discipline. They are adults with their own lives, opinions, and often protective instincts towards you and perhaps towards the memory of their other parent. They might worry about inheritance, feel their loyalty is being tested, or simply struggle to see you with someone new. It's not always logical, but it's deeply human. Let me tell you about Margaret, 65, divorced for a decade, who fell head over heels for David, 69, a widower whose wife had passed away 3 years prior after a long illness. Margaret's children, in their late 30s, were polite to David but distant. They saw how happy their mum was, but they privately admitted to her it felt strange, and they worried she was rushing things. David's children, slightly older, were even more reserved. They adored their late mother, and while they wanted their dad to be happy, meeting Margaret felt, for them, almost like a betrayal of their mother's memory. Family gatherings were tense. Margaret felt like she was constantly walking on eggshells, trying to win approval. David felt caught between his new love and his children's grief. He told me, "It was like trying to navigate a minefield in slippers. I just wanted everyone to get along, but the air was thick with unspoken things." Margaret confessed feeling exhausted, wondering if this beautiful relationship was worth the constant, low-level family stress. What changed? Patience, honesty, and boundaries. Margaret and David realized they couldn't force acceptance, but they could foster understanding. They had separate, gentle conversations with their respective children. Margaret assured hers she wasn't replacing their father or forgetting their past, but that David brought her joy now. David reassured his children that his love for their mother was eternal and untouchable, but that Margaret filled a different kind of void, companionship for his future. Crucially, they also gently established a boundary. While they valued their children's feelings and wanted them involved, the ultimate decision about their relationship was theirs. They stopped trying so hard to replicate old family traditions and started creating a few new, simpler ones that involved everyone who was willing. It wasn't overnight. Think of it like merging two established gardens. You can't just rip everything out and start over. It requires respecting what's already there, careful pruning, patience, and giving new grafts time to take hold. Slowly, cautiously, the tension eased. The children saw their parents were happy and respected, and while it took time, a new, blended family dynamic began to emerge. Different, but functional. The benefit for you here is immense, reducing friction that can spill over into your relationship, potentially gaining a wider, supportive family network, imagine more grandchildren to spoil, and creating smoother, happier family occasions. It allows your relationship to breathe, free from the weight of external disapproval. My warm suggestion: acknowledge your family's feelings, communicate openly, but remember, this is your life and your happiness. Find that balance between respect for their emotions and commitment to your chosen partner. Patience is your greatest ally here. Truth number 3, the unromantic reality check. In sickness and in health takes on new meaning. Now, we come to the truth I mentioned earlier, the one that requires perhaps the deepest reflection and honesty, the one that, well, it could genuinely make you pause and think. It's about health. When we marry young, the vow in sickness and in health feels distant, abstract. We're usually vibrant, full of energy. The prospect of serious illness or needing significant care seems lifetimes away. But remarrying after 60? That vow carries a much more immediate, tangible weight. The statistical reality is that health challenges are more likely as we age. Are you prepared, truly prepared, for the possibility that your new partner might face significant health issues, or that you might? What does caregiving look like in this new relationship? Are your expectations aligned? Ignoring this is like setting sail on a beautiful yacht without checking the lifeboats or the weather forecast. Consider Eleanor, a very active 70-year-old who loved hiking and traveling. She met Robert, 73, charming, intelligent, but already showing signs of arthritis that he tended to downplay. He'd joke about his creaky joints, but avoid longer walks. Eleanor adored his company and wit, and frankly, she avoided thinking too much about his physical limitations. It felt morbid, she admitted to me later. Talking about what-ifs regarding health seemed like inviting bad luck, or worse, it might scare him off. We were having such a wonderful time. Why spoil it? She focused on the good, pushing aside the nagging voice that wondered about the future. They talked about moving in together, even marriage. But the conversation about long-term health and potential care needs, it never happened. Then, Robert had a fall. It wasn't catastrophic, but it led to a hospital stay and a diagnosis of a degenerative condition that would progressively impact his mobility and require ongoing care. Suddenly, the what-ifs were reality. Eleanor was thrown into a caregiving role she hadn't consciously signed up for. She loved Robert, but she felt overwhelmed, unprepared, and even a little resentful. Not of him, but of the situation they hadn't discussed. They hadn't talked about practicalities. Would family help? Could they afford professional care? What were Robert's wishes if his condition worsened significantly? What about her own needs for activity and travel? The lack of prior conversation created immense stress, on top of the emotional strain of Robert's illness. It forced them into difficult discussions during a crisis, which is the hardest time to have them. Eleanor confessed that if they had talked honestly beforehand, understanding the full potential implications, she might have made a different decision about the level of commitment, perhaps choosing deep companionship without the legal and emotional weight of marriage under those potential circumstances. It wasn't about loving Robert less, but about honestly assessing her own capacity and desires for her later years. This is why this truth is so critical. Facing the reality of potential health decline and caregiving isn't pessimistic. It's realistic and responsible. It's about understanding the full scope of the commitment. Think of those marriage vows like a ship's manifest. Before you set sail, especially into potentially choppy waters, you need to be clear about the cargo you're carrying, the potential challenges ahead, and whether you both have the resources and willingness to navigate them together. The profound benefit of having this difficult conversation before you commit: clarity, preparedness, realistic expectations. It avoids devastating surprises and potential resentment later. It allows you to make informed choices. And if you both face this reality head-on and still choose to move forward, that shared understanding can forge an incredibly deep, resilient bond. My heartfelt advice: please, talk about health. Discuss your histories, your fears, your expectations for care, both giving and receiving. Look into practicalities like healthcare directives and financial provisions. It's perhaps the ultimate test of a mature partnership. Ignoring it is a gamble with very high stakes. Truth number 4, old ghosts and new scripts, letting go and building anew. Finally, let's talk about the emotional landscape. We all arrive at this stage of life, carrying luggage from our past journeys. This isn't necessarily bad. It's experience, memories, lessons learned. But sometimes, that luggage contains old habits, patterns of communication learned in previous long relationships, unresolved grief from loss, whether through death or divorce, or comparisons to a former spouse. These ghosts can subtly influence our new relationship if we're not mindful. We might unconsciously expect our new partner to react like our old one, or we might have developed fiercely independent habits after years alone that clash with a partner seeking close companionship. I recall George, 67, divorced after 35 years of marriage, where he and his ex-wife had grown quite independent, living somewhat parallel lives towards the end. He met Susan, 64, a widow whose marriage had been very close-knit, full of shared activities and constant communication. Initially, their differences created friction. George valued his man cave time and sometimes wouldn't check in for hours, which felt normal to him but neglectful to Susan. Susan constantly wanted to do things together, which felt a bit smothering to George after years of autonomy. They both sometimes made unconscious comparisons. George might think, "My ex-wife never minded when I watched football all Sunday," while Susan might wistfully recall, "My late husband always knew how to cheer me up when I was down." Neither meant harm, but these unspoken thoughts and ingrained habits created little misunderstandings and hurt feelings. It was like they were both trying to read from different relationship scripts, written decades ago for different co-stars. They reached a point where they realized they needed to address this directly. They started talking, really talking, not just about their day, but about their needs and expectations shaped by their pasts. George explained his need for some solitude wasn't a rejection of Susan, but a habit he valued. Susan explained her desire for connection wasn't clinginess, but what felt like loving partnership to her. They made a conscious effort to understand why the other felt or acted a certain way, without judgment. Think of it like renovating a beautiful old house. You appreciate the history, the solid bones, your past experiences, but you need to update the wiring and plumbing, communication, expectations, to fit your current needs and lifestyle together. You don't pretend the past didn't happen, but you don't let it dictate every choice in the present. They started creating their own routines, their own inside jokes, their own ways of balancing togetherness and independence. The wonderful benefit, a relationship that feels authentic and tailor-made for who you both are now, not who you were 20 or 30 years ago. It fosters deeper understanding, prevents repeating old mistakes, and allows you to truly build something new and beautiful together, honoring your pasts without being trapped by them. My gentle reminder, acknowledge your history and your partners. Talk about how your past experiences shape your present needs, but consciously choose to write a new script together for this unique relationship. You're not erasing previous chapters, but you are starting a fresh, exciting one. Make it truly yours. So there we have them, 4 truths to hold gently in your heart as you contemplate remarriage after 60. Finances, family dynamics, the realities of health, and the echoes of our pasts. It might sound like a lot to consider, but isn't that the beauty of this stage of life? You have the wisdom, the experience, the perspective to navigate these waters with awareness and grace. Finding love and deep companionship again is a profound gift, a testament to the enduring power of the human heart to connect and to hope. You absolutely deserve that joy, that warmth, that shared laughter in your life. These truths aren't meant to discourage you, but to empower you, to help you build that new relationship on the strongest, most honest foundation possible. Trust your journey, trust your wisdom, and know that you have every right to seek happiness and partnership at any age.